Have you ever had trouble fitting a dolman sleeve top? This can be a little tricky because it doesn't have a separate sleeve. The sleeve and the bodice is all one piece. So there isn't an armhole and a sleeve cap to adjust when you're trying to get it to hang properly from your shoulders. In front of me, I have a mini diagram of what a dolman sleeve looks like. And I basically added the sleeve onto a regular pattern so you could kind of see what's happening here. Instead of having the armhole, you have a shoulder that continues all the way to the wrist edge. And the angle in which the sleeve is can vary depending on how it is drafted. But what I want to share with you here is this is one long continuous seam, and let me just bring in the back to show you. So like here's the back piece, the same thing. Okay, so you would sew that entire seam from your shoulder all the way down to your wrist to put this top together. Sometimes dolman sleeves have, you know, like a curve here on the underarm, like that. Okay, and the width of the sleeve and the angle of the sleeve again can vary. But what I want to point out here is if your dolman sleeve shirt is pulling to the back and you can't get it to stay, you can't get the shoulder seam to stay on your shoulder, it might not be the shoulder that's the problem. So the first thing you want to look at is make sure that when the shoulder seams are on your shoulder, that the back neckline is in the right position. So the first thing you want to look at is when it's sitting on my shoulders properly, is the back neckline sitting on my shoulder properly? If it's not, you can adjust that first. Because remember, I'm tying this into efficient workflow for bodice fitting, where we want to fit our, you know, our upper back, our neck, our shoulder. And if the back neckline is not reaching up to the back of you, check for body specific adjustments you may need, such as a high round back that can raise the neckline up to where it needs to go. Or if you have a forward neck, you're still going to want to do those adjustments. So to do a high round back on a dolman sleeve, we can't just slash and spread to the armhole and call it a day, because there is no armhole. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to draw a slash line to the armhole like this, and then I am going to cut there, and then I'm going to cut straight up through the shoulder like this. So I'm basically cutting it out, and what that's going to allow me to do is it's going to allow me to raise the center back edge the amount I need. And I'm just going to put some of my sew tights down to hold these things. But basically, I'm going to pivot at the edge of the sleeve like that to create the height I need for the high round back. And then I'm simply going to fill that in with paper. So I'll use this. All right, so that will allow you to get in there and add the length you need, like that, without really changing anything. Now obviously this is extending out because I spread it here, right? So it's okay to then go back and trim that back off. So I can straighten that back out by trimming off essentially what I added over here. All right, so now I've got a high round back that will bring the neckline up. So if you've got that fitting issue, that will help you there. Now, generally, Dolman sleeves have a lot more ease, so I'm not going to worry about a prominent shoulder blade because that's probably not going to show, you know, in the back, because again, Dolman sleeves tend to be more roomy. But we've now added vertical length, and all of this, I'll just color it in with this pen so you can see where we added. Okay, so that's getting the neckline into position, you know, or adding to the neckline to get the neckline into position in the back. So once you've dealt with that, the other thing you can look at is when you're wearing your Dolman sleeve and it's sitting on your shoulder, if the seam is not in the center of your neck, you can move the seam of the shoulder and sleeve simply by adding and removing from the pattern. So let's say you want it to come a little bit more forward. What you're going to do is you're going to add what you want in the back to push it forward. So let's say we're going to add, I'm just going to add 1/4 of an inch here because this is a small pattern. So essentially, I'm adding 1/4 of an inch here, okay, onto the sleeve. Okay, so I'm plussing here, and then what I'm going to do is on the front shoulder, I'm going to remove 1/4. Now, okay, so I would remove this, so this would no longer be here. Now, what is that doing? That's shifting this whole seam forward. And if you have a forward neck, that will help get that seam in alignment with your body. But guess what? None of these things we've done so far are going to help you if when you start moving around, it falls back again. So if you're having the trouble with it falling back, the problem now becomes the neckline. Okay, so sometimes in these Dolman sleeve tops, the neckline is too broad and there's too much ease here, so it's allowing the shirt to fall back. So the way you fix that is in the front, and especially if you've already made a muslin, pin out the base of the front neckline and just go straight down your center front to 0, almost like you're making an upside down dart. So 0 at the hem, and take out as much as you need here. Try it on, walk around, and if you're happy with it not sliding now because it now fits, you're going to transfer that to your pattern, so when you make your next one, you don't have to have a seam down the front. I mean, if you want to save the shirt you're wearing, you could literally create a center front seam by taking in the neckline, and then you can wear it and it won't slide back. But for your next one, let's say you pinched out 2 inches total. So you're going to go ahead and you're going to, you know, measure out half that amount, and then you're literally going to do this to 0 at the hem. Okay, so when I cut that off, you're just going to make this your new center front grain line. Okay, if you have a significant amount, I would say more than an inch to shave off the neckline, I think I would come down equally like this, you know, so instead of making a wedge, just take it off all the way down, and then if you need more ease, you can then add it back in on the side here. Or you can slash your pattern here and add the ease back in. Okay, because if you take off too much and slant that center front edge too much, it's going to be noticeable, especially if you lay your pattern on a print or a stripe or something. So if it's just a little bit, you can get away with trimming it off in a wedge and calling it a day. But if it's, you know, if it's significant, or if you want to keep it completely on grain, cut off the entire amount straight to the hem, and then spread here to add back what you removed from the hem if you need the ease. And then the other thing you want to consider is if you cut off enough in the front of a scoop to make it look a V-neck, you can go back in and just re-establish that scoop by creating a flat 90-degree, about an inch, and then just re-dash in the curved shape of your scoop like that. And then that way you've reestablished the scoop neckline, if it was a scoop. Now, if it's a V and you take it out, let's say you made the V, and so when you took off an inch from your center front of a V, now your V's higher. If that were the case, you could just draw the V down lower again. So that's how you would reestablish your front neckline, either by recreating the scoop or deepening the V back to its original position. But getting rid of the extra ease in here will keep the dolman sleeve from falling back. If you have any questions or comments about adjusting a dolman sleeve, please post those below and I will help you. If you're enjoying my content, please consider liking and subscribing to my channel because it helps me grow. Thank you guys so much for watching and have a wonderful rest of your day.